Joining us, our legal panel in Orlando, Diana Tennis, in San Francisco, Jim Hammer, and in Washington, Bernie Grimm and Ted Williams. Jim, I think it's only fair to go to you as the former prosecutor. You've taken a look at this affidavit in support of the arrest warrant. This is what they used to go out and convince a judge to arrest George Zimmerman. Any problems with this affidavit?
Well, I got it today. Your producer, Corey, sent it over. I thought it would be a very standard document. It's the kind of document I helped work with police officers many times to secure arrest warrants. It starts out very normal. It talks about the encounter between Zimmerman and Trayvon, how he saw him, how he thought Trayvon was suspicious. And then it ends with this, and I've underlined it in my version. It says this: Zimmerman shot Martin in the chest, period. When police arrived, Zimmerman admitted shooting Martin, period. Nothing about his claim of self-defense, nothing about the injuries they obviously saw in him when they encountered him, nothing about the fact that he at least claimed that he was afraid for his life when this happened. The job of police officers and prosecutors, when you present something to a judge like this, is to give the full story, not just half of it, so that he or she can make a fair determination of probable cause. Now, at the end, it does say the facts in this affidavit are not all the facts, but they're supposed to be a balanced set of facts. So, frankly, I'm pretty shocked by this. I don't have an explanation why they would leave that out, Greta.
All right. Now, Jim, but it is a prosecutor's document. Does it go too far in being a prosecutor's document to the point where it simply is an unfair document to secure an arrest warrant for someone?
It does, and I want to say, first of all, it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the case. They still could have gotten a warrant, but a judge sits in his or her chambers, Greta. They're not out in the field. They're not investigating the case. They rely upon police officers, often in conjunction with prosecutors, to give them a fair rendition of the heart of the case. And this case, on its face, is a guy who profiles Trayvon Martin. That's the prosecution's version. I believe that version. And at the end of the day, after a fight, shoots him. But most importantly, he claims self-defense. There are injuries on him. Those are the kind of facts a judge would have to hear so that he or she can make a fair determination on whether or not probable cause. To leave the judge in the dark like this, if I got caught doing it as a DA, and I don't know the state's attorney read this thing, I'd be in hot water.
Bernie, it won't change the outcome, but does it tell you a little bit about the prosecutor's office motive, at least in terms of, fair dealing?
I can't get in all shock and awe about this. I see it every day. I see affidavits much worse than this. And Jim Hammer, if Jim drafted an affidavit, it would be balanced and it would be right down the middle. But one, legally, they don't have to be balanced. You don't have to put in somebody's defense. You don't have to put in somebody's theory. You don't have to put in facts. You don't have to put in facts that hurt you.
Here's the problem, Bernie.
We all know the law, Greta. We know the law, and that's what it is. Now, in answer to your question, yes, I think these guys are unsavory, but I have other examples of that.
All right. Well, let me go to you, Diana. The thing that I don't like, it talks about how Trayvon Martin's mother identified the voice in a 911 call. It doesn't leave out the fact that the father was unable to do it in the beginning. It doesn't tell that. It also doesn't mention head injuries, which might have some bearing on whether or not there might be some sort of self-defense. Do you have any problem with the way the prosecution team got this warrant?
Well, sure, and horrible wouldn't it have been if Florida did not have depositions and the ability to really fully get into what happened. That statement, that affidavit said Zimmerman confronted Trayvon and a struggle ensued. That whole provoked, confronted, they always gave the implication that George Zimmerman attacked first, and there was never any evidence of that.
I was going to say, not only the only evidence that they had at the point of the warrant is that it was what they got from George Zimmerman, because tragically Trayvon Martin couldn't tell, and the version that they actually had from George Zimmerman was something vastly different. It was one that said that he was not the one who did the confronting. All right, let me go to you, Ted. Alan Dershowitz says this prosecutor who's over this office should be, he's horrified. He's even used the word disbarred. Do you think that this affidavit is at least an alarming sign?
Your extra sense of perception is what I was just thinking about at that immediate time, so you're right on target. I think that this prosecutor clearly should be fired. When I look at this affidavit, there are more inconsistencies and more inaccuracies in this affidavit than meets the eye. One of them, and you just pointed out, that they're saying that Trayvon Martin's mother is the one who made the voice identification. It wasn't Trayvon's mother at that time. It was Tracy Martin who made a voice identification, and there's some dispute. He says that he didn't tell the police officers that it was his son. The police officers said it was his son. I was in that trial, and when I look at this affidavit about another thing, saying that Trayvon Martin ran That's not true. None of that came in the evidence. And think about this. This affidavit is to support a second-degree murder. And the bottom line is there's nothing showing ill will, spite, or any of the prerequisites that are necessary, Greta. This is just atrocious and horrible, and it's unprofessional.
And let me just repeat what Jim said. It didn't have any effect on the impact of the outcome of the trial, which happened to be in favor of George Zimmerman. But it certainly does give you a sense of this prosecutor's office in terms of, fair play in a prosecution. So, panel, just stand by for 1 second. And moments before Trayvon was shot, Trayvon Martin was talking on the phone to Rachel Jean Tell. The trial suddenly thrusting Jean Tell into the spotlight as the prosecution's star witness. But Jean Tell spending hours going head-to-head with the defense team.
So the last thing you heard was some kind of noise, like something hitting somebody.
And Trayvon got hit. Trayvon got hit.
You don't know that, do you?
No, sir.
You don't know that Trayvon got hit.
He couldn't. He had
You don't
to.
know that Trayvon didn't, at that moment, take his fist and drive it into George Zimmerman's face.
Please lower your voice.
Do you?
No, sir. When the state closed and they trying to explain what kind of person I am, and you can see the kind of person I am. I never, out of the whole stand, I never cussed out Dawn. Even during our little back, since March, I've been dealing with Dawn Weston. The only reason I have not said nothing to Dawn Weston, because my parents taught me better. That's an adult. You don't have the right to disrespect an adult.
And now we're hearing what alternate juror E54 thought about Jean Tell's testimony.
I think the things that I focused on when I was doing my own deliberation was the non-emergency phone call. I did pick up on some things out of Rachel Jantel's testimony. Trayvon Martin's phone records, or her phone records when they were talking.
Did you think Rachel Jantel was credible?
I think, well, I did have some, I did pick up some credible information from her, and so yeah, I do think she was credible.
Now back to our panel. Diana, if I were on the jury for this case, I would have found her testimony inconsequential and not particularly powerful to the prosecution and not harmful to the defense, that she was only there to sort of set a timeline, but it's almost like the media is, I don't know if they're sort of using her or making her into a different part of the trial than she was. Your thoughts on her?
Well, I think the state of Florida made her important because they really needed Trayvon Martin to be the victim of physical aggression first. And so the whole little get off at the end of the conversation and the sound of grass was supposed to be, I think, for the jury from the state perspective, George Zimmerman physically attacking Trayvon Martin first. And they needed that if they were ever going to get to disprove self-defense. So I think for the state, she was important. Ultimately, you can't make a witness your sole case when you start off training her and grooming her testimony on the couch of the decedent's mom's. You know, it's just the way it started out. It was horrible.
Jim, I sort of think that people sort of made a caricature of her, and I think that it's like for some reason I don't like that.
I'm frankly ticked off at people who did that. And it's the defense attorney's job to go at a witness however he wants to. I found somewhat offensive the critique of her as being educated and the rest of it. She talked about what she saw, okay? I think she has a lot of dignity. I liked her even more when I watched the full hour interview with her. I think she was an important witness in this case, though, Greta. I think I disagree with some people in the panel on that. There was one hunter and one hunted through most of this encounter. George Zimmerman, as he said, wanted to make sure that these, and I don't want to say the swear word again, these effing a-holes didn't get away with it. He was pissed off. He was intent on getting this guy, and what this witness established, what Trayvon was afraid of him, was trying to get away, at least for most of the encounter. I don't know what happened at the very end, Greta.
Except that then you get to the 4-minute gap where he said that he was going to go
You're
away,
right.
And he could easily
You're
have
right,
run
but
home.
it sets the scene of a hunter and a hunted, and for me as a prosecutor, that would be important.
Right, but then of course that 4-minute gap, and let me go to you on that, Ted. That 4-minute gap was actually a very potent one because that was 4 minutes. He could have run home. It probably would have taken him 15 seconds, and he hung around.
Yeah, that 4-minute gap, I was in court when that was brought up. but I found that to be speculative because the sad part about this, Trayvon is not here to say which direction he was going to go.
Oh, but Ted, you were out there. Ted, you were out there. It didn't take 4 minutes to go from where he was to where he lived. That took like, I could have run in 20 seconds. I figured he could run in 15.
Absolutely, but there's nothing that says that he had to run home. He could have ran back and punched Zimmerman for all we know.
It defeated the explanation that he was fearful and ran home. Instead, it led to the reasonable thought. And Bernie, I'm going to go back to you for quickly, that he instead was more aggressive and perhaps the aggressor. Bernie?
Yeah, I mean, good point. And everyone knows this, and Jim brought it up, I think, about 3 weeks ago. There were 2 witnesses to this event, immediate witnesses who were right there when it happened. One's dead. Zimmerman, whether he's telling the truth or not, his manner, the way it happened, came in unrebutted. But Rachel Jeantel, I liked her. I don't like the fact that she got victimized in it. She is who she is. She's not courtroom sophisticated, but who cares? I mean, in the hour interview, I mean, I wish she got prepared that way for the trial. It might have been a different case.
Right.
Panel,
I agree with you.
I got to go. Thank you all. Thank you. Straight ahead, the forensics.